Some thoughts don't come back because they are true. They come back because your brain never felt safe with the ending. That conversation you've replayed 100 times, the one where you said the wrong thing or stayed completely silent when you shouldn't have, the relationship that dissolved without a real explanation, the moment you were dismissed, humiliated, or left waiting for an apology that never arrived. These aren't just memories, they're open files. And your brain, the most sophisticated threat detection system ever built, doesn't know how to close them. Most people assume that if a thought keeps returning, it must be carrying some important truth, that the mind is trying to send a signal. And in a way, it is, but not the signal you think. What it's actually sending is the subject of everything that follows. 1. The loop is not a flaw. Your brain has one job above everything else. Not happiness, not logic, survival. And to survive, it needs to detect a threat, process it, and mark it as resolved. When that system works correctly, you move through difficulty and file it away. The event happened. It ended. You're safe. Done. But here's where it breaks down. When an experience ends without emotional resolution, when there was no closure, no understanding, no moment where you felt genuinely safe, your brain doesn't file it. It flags it. Unfinished. Still active. Still potentially dangerous. And what does an intelligent system do with an unprocessed threat? It brings it back up. Again and again. Not to punish you, but to finish the job it never got to complete. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something similar almost a century ago. Waiters could recall the exact details of every unpaid order, but the moment a bill was settled, the memory vanished. The brain holds on to what it hasn't closed. Your painful thought keeps returning for the same reason. To your nervous system, the task is still open. 2. Why rejection replays louder than praise. Think about the last time someone genuinely complimented you. How long did that feeling last? Now think about the last time someone dismissed you, cut you off mid-sentence, walked away without explanation. Which one are you still carrying? This isn't weakness. It's architecture. Your brain processes social rejection using the same neural pathways it uses for physical pain. This is measurable. Being excluded, publicly humiliated, or emotionally abandoned activates the same regions as a physical wound, including the anterior cingulate cortex, which registers pain. And pain demands attention. You don't ignore a deep cut. Your brain won't let you ignore an unresolved social wound either. The replay isn't obsession, it's the brain scanning the scene, searching for what went wrong, and trying to build a defense for next time. 3. The trap inside the replay. Here's where the system starts working against you. Every time you replay the thought, you don't just remember the event, you feel it again. Cortisol spikes, chest tightens, jaw clenches. Your body processes the memory nearly identically to the original experience, so the brain detects the threat again, it flags it again, and the loop deepens. This is called rumination, and what makes it so difficult to escape is that it perfectly mimics problem solving. It feels like you're figuring something out, like you're working towards something, but you're not moving forward. You're just circling the same perimeter. Research consistently links rumination to slower emotional recovery, elevated depression risk, and reduced actual problem-solving capacity. The mind believes it's processing. Without the right conditions, it's only replaying. 4. What your brain is actually waiting for. So what breaks the loop? Not logic. If logic worked, you would have reasoned your way out of it by now. Not distraction. Distraction delays the thought. It doesn't resolve it. The thought just waits. What your brain is waiting for is something most people never consciously give it: a felt sense of safety. Not intellectual understanding, but your nervous system receiving a signal that says, the threat is over. You are okay. This is done. This is why someone can spend years talking about a painful memory and still feel it like it happened yesterday. Because understanding an event mentally is not the same as your body resolving it emotionally. What creates resolution isn't analysis, it's emotional completion. Being witnessed, allowing yourself to fully feel what you've only been managing, giving the wound the kind of attention that lets it close, rather than just coating over it and moving on. 5. The unspoken truth and what actually breaks the loop. One of the quietest drivers of thought loops is something almost no one names: the words you never got to say. When something happened and you couldn't speak your real experience because it wasn't safe, or the other person couldn't hold it, or you didn't even have language for it yet, your mind stores that moment as incomplete. Part of you never got to fully exist in that event. You held it together, you survived it, you moved forward. But the body kept the record. This is why writing sometimes works in ways that talking to yourself doesn't. Not because journaling organizes your thoughts, but because it allows a silenced part of you to finally speak. Something witnesses itself. Something incomplete gets a voice. And in gaining a voice, it begins to settle. The same mechanism makes certain kinds of therapy genuinely healing. The relief isn't purely insight, it's being fully seen inside an experience you've been carrying entirely alone. Here is what creates real movement. First, stop trying to think your way out. When the thought surfaces, instead of analyzing it, drop into your body. Notice where you feel it physically: chest, throat, stomach. Don't chase the thought. Sit with the sensation. This shifts processing from the narrative mind to the somatic layer, which is where emotional resolution actually lives. Second, give the scene a new ending, deliberately. Your brain is replaying a moment that never reached a safe conclusion, so offer it one. Not by pretending the event was acceptable, but by writing, speaking aloud, or even imagining what you needed to say, feel, or receive in that moment. This isn't self-deception, it's giving your nervous system a new reference point to land on. These aren't tricks. They're built directly on how the brain actually processes experience and why it gets stuck. Here's what this all comes down to. Painful thoughts don't loop because you're weak. They loop because your brain is loyal. It's holding on to something it never had the chance to properly resolve, and it refuses to let go until it knows you're safe. The goal was never to silence those thoughts. It was to give them what they were searching for all along, an ending your nervous system can finally accept. If this explains something you've felt but never had words for, that's exactly what this channel exists to do. Subscribe and keep watching. Because once you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, you can't unsee it.